welcome back. This is a series for people who are brand new to Elder Scrolls Online or are thinking about playing it. This video is on a character build. So I'm out here in one of the main um, cities where there are shrines. That's something to uh, notice because that will play into, believe it or not, the skills that you can customize later on. What I want to first talk about roles. So, characters, when they are going to play in a group, will take on the role of a tank, of a healer, or a damage dealer. So, when you end up queuing into a dungeon, you'll have one of those roles. And when I refer, I'll be explaining those more, but when I refer to a character as, for example, a damage character or a healer, that is when it's going to count. If you are just playing by yourself, it's not going to matter a whole lot at all. This particular character is a damage character. So we're going to take a look behind the scenes at what a build compromise or is comprised of. And essentially, it's going to be the armor and weapons that you have, of course. But then in ESO, you have class abilities. Then you also have racial abilities. But you can pick up a lot of other skills in the game because there's so many things that just have a skill line. So for example, weapons have their own skill line and armor has its own skill line. And there are two general types of skills. There are active skills and then there are passive skills. You can see right here the passive abilities that come from the light armor skill line. You can see the passive abilities that come from her racial ability category. And then there are active abilities, which you're going to find. Active abilities are the ones that you can use down here on your bar. The passive abilities run in the background either all the time or when certain events happen. So, like this one under Trifocus, if you do a fully charged Inferno staff attack, it does one thing. If you do a fully charged lightning staff attack, it does another. That's how they trigger. They either run all the time or you do something and then they trigger. So under her under her racial abilities, let's look at that first. She'll get things. Her race, the Breton race, will get 7% reduction on magicka cost. Um, you get increased spell resistance. You get some other things, increased experience with light armor. And under the weapon she's using, destruction, she can actually slot these. Now watch. Whenever there's a plus, that means you can apply a skill point and activate that. So she has one, see the square that drags? She can drag those down into the bar and they will take effect. In fact, that's actually the same one there. And you can drag these out. So you can customize your skills that are in the bottom bar. And this is the same bar that you're looking at here. You can customize your lineup of skills you want to use both on the front bar and the back bar. And players call the order of the skills that you use. They try to maximize like adding a buff to increase damage and then doing damage. They have like certain sequences. They call it rotation. So if you, which can be done, which can be used on both front bar and back bar. So you can, let's say, use a back bar skill, then a front bar skill, then a back bar skill to wind up with an effect that you want, like increased damage. So keep in mind that any race and any class can play any role in ESO. So you could have a Breton Warden healer or a Breton Warden tank, or you could have a high elf healer or a high elf Templar tank. It really depends. So Her class is sorcerer. So there are four classes that come with the base game, which I'm going to be focusing on the base game mostly. And that's sorcerer, Nightblade, which is more of like an assassin type class. Dragon Knight, which some people build for damage, others build for tanks. I think they're probably the best tank in the game. And then Templar, which some people build for tanks or some people build as healers or DPS. That's a very well-rounded class. So as you level up your character, what you're going to notice is that your skills are going to level up too. And the way that works is you have to have a skill in the active bar. An active bar means the one that you're looking at, the one that you can't see right now. Remember, I said there's two bars? The one behind it is like a passive bar. So as long as you put the skills you want to level in the active bar, they will start to get stronger and stronger. And they have their own skill levels. So, for example, Destruction Staff is at level 50 for her. Um, she used a Restoration Staff when she was running dungeons to level up. So that's only up to 17. Uh, Armor abilities too. These will go from like level 1 to level 20 to 40, then to 50 as you gain experience points with that skill enabled. Okay, and then other these other categories also have skills. So soul magic comes with the game. Everybody gets that from the very beginning. Legerdemain is the same. This actually is related to the crime system, believe it or not. So if you discover a treasure chest and lockpick that treasure chest, it's going to level your Legerdemain. Fighters Guild, which is in the base game, everybody gets that skill line, and that'll level up as you kill usually enemies related to the Dark Lord, like Daedra and his minions, essentially. Mages Guild, this is also in the base game, and this levels up as you collect lore books and as you do quests for the Mages Guild. Sigic Order is in the Somerset chapter, and then Undaunted is related to dungeons. Um, so you can pick this up. You can actually get this right away if you go to a certain area and talk to a certain NPC. But at level 45, you'll become a member of the Undaunted Enclave. So Alliance War, part of the base game. This you can actually get that up to about level 4, I think, just by doing the tutorial. And you'll get that mount passive. So this passive ability gives you additional speed, 30% more speed on your mount. If you if you pick skills that you aren't happy with, don't worry about it. Because later, it's really natural when you're building a character to come up with certain skills that you want to use and then try them out, see if you like them. And if they're not working, you can do what gamers call respec later. So you can actually get your skill points back and reapply them. ESO has a nice way of doing it where they don't give them back to you in like a giant lump. So then you have to remember what you were doing. It brings up an interface where you can subtract or add um, skill points, and then you pay a fee in gold, but you don't have to get something from the Crown Store to do it. It's built right into the game. So, and these are the shrines. I'm in Eldenroot and Gratwood. So the shrines do different things. So let me first point out that the Shrine of Mara is not, the Shrine of Mara is where, believe it or not, two characters can go to get married in the game. So we're not talking about the Shrine to Mara. There's the Shrine to Stendarr and the Shrine to Auriel. And they do different things, but both related to skills. So whenever your skills level up far enough, you can morph them. You need to apply another skill point. You get the skill points as your character levels up in the game, as you do dungeons. As you do certain quests. There's a lot of ways to get skill points. You can also gather sky shards, which it shows you how many you've gathered. That's how you get the points to apply them. So if I applied one here, it would activate that skill. But when you get those diamonds, that's a morph, and what that means is a morph is a further refinement of the skill. You can even get these back in a respec if you didn't want to get rid of all your skills, you just wanted to tweak up some morphs. So the Shrine to Auriel, you can also respec your attributes, the magicka, stamina, and health that you have that you also get these points as you level up in the character game. So damage characters usually put all their skill points into their primary stat. She uses magicka. If you read the skills, it shows the cost, and her cost is in magicka. 99% of them are in magicka, and that's why she has so many in magicka. But you can respect those if you pay, um, make a donation. The cost that you pay is based on how many skill points that you've earned. So, in fact, as you level up, you'll get a couple scrolls where you can respec your attributes and your skill points for free. They'll let you do for free. This one gives them back to you. I think it gives all the attributes back in one shot. So you have 64 that you'll have to reapply. But the Shrine to Stendarr brings up an interesting. See, notice you can do just the morphs, or you can do just the skills, which will also include the morph. So let's take a look at that. I don't think it charges me if I don't do anything. See, there's a minus sign there. That's how you subtract that skill point out. So it doesn't give it back to you all at once. It basically lets you tweak it to add or subtract, including the morphs, and it lets you do it for all of them. Not for just one skill line, you can do it for every single skill point that you have. So even down through here. So that's why those shrines can be important. Don't regret making a character and adding skills just because um, you can fix that later on. The only thing in the game that you actually can't change is your class. You can even change your race if you wanted, although you may end up having to actually buy that from the crown store. There's a racial change token. So I mentioned that a build is the combination of the skills, which I showed you, and there are so many of them. Everything seems to have a skill in the game. Um, the passive and the active skills that are related to the bar, and then the armor and weapons I mentioned. So let's take a look at that. So this is the other part of her build. So knowing that the Bretons do well with light armor, but light armor, to make a long story short, goes very well with magic builds that use staffs. So here's her armor on the left over here. Notice that she has Um, in the top left of the box that popped up, it says light high elf. Light means light armor. So she's wearing light armor on most of her pieces, but then on these others, actually, those are light too. Um, in ESO, you can have additional skills that come from armor sets or weapon sets. And you can wear two 5-piece sets and then one 2-piece set. They refer to the two pieces of monster set because you get it from dungeons. It's related to the dungeon system, which we'll go into in another video. Um, so these two together, if you read the description, with two pieces, well, with one piece you get something, you get some magicka. With two pieces, you get this effect that when you deal damage, um, have a 10% chance to create lava pool around her, like a ring of fire, and it deals so much damage within 8 meters. As you see me play on her, you're going to see this red fire circle pop up around her. That's that set going off. This other set gives increased weapon and spell damage, increased chance to do critical damage. So basically, that boosts a lot of things that she has already. Then there's another one here. Um, Same thing, boosts her critical ability, boosts weapon and spell damage, but notice that this one has a cost. It increases the cost of her active abilities, which I don't, um, that one doesn't have. So that's what sets are. If you complete the 5 pieces, it gives you the maximum effect. And the the staffs count for actually two slots. If this were a different character, you would have two, let's say two daggers there or two swords, but one staff counts for both of those slots. So she's got one, two, three, four, five of that set, one, two, three, four, five of that set, and then two of that set, which is two's the maximum for that set. And all of these add together to equal the build. There's also the champion point system once you get over level 50, where you can add additional things and further refine the character. And this is the type of setup where it opens in one place and closes another. Like you have to open these to get up to the upper ones. But notice that I've got 33 that I can apply, and I can add, for example, I can add a couple here and increase it. See that going up? And then some of these abilities you have to drag into the relevant bar. You can only have four slottable ones running, which you can change anytime, by the way. I mean, you don't even have to respec them. You can actually redistribute right within here. And if you're changing ones that are already slottable, it doesn't charge you anything. If you want to redistribute them all, it charges you 3,000 gold. There are also passive abilities in here too, where that you don't have to slot. So like this one gives her some offensive penetration, and this one gives her an increased chance to apply a status. So you can do for both of these bars, it's more related to defense and attack, and this is more related to crafting. So all of these come together to make what you would call your character or the build of your character in a game. And there's so many, there's like an infinite variety that you can, ways that you can combine them between the race and the class and the armor and weapons and stuff like that. Um, so feel free to enjoy when you create a character because you can always change it later. That's one of the things that I like about ESO. You can play your way, I mean, any way you want, and you really can't mess anything up because you could always change it later. So, um, thank you, and I'm looking forward to making the next one.